Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Radiant and the entity and basically what's happened over the past couple of days, because we took about a week off, so coming back with a new revised video. A lot has happened since, so we had two miners that come out for Radiant. DragonBall said that they were the entity, and they've since released an ASIC miner. And then Ice River came out about 2 days after and released the RX0. Ice River always kind of do this where they release a very small miner, and I think it's very good because you can actually, home mine kind of relatively well. And I think that they're definitely going to sell out of them if they haven't already put them up for sale. At only $400, it is a good price in theory, because you have like the AL0 and then the KS0 for Lithium and Casper coin, kind of the same model. And I think it just lowers the threshold to start mining, so it's always good for people that are willing to kind of take the chance on $400 and not the $10,500 for the DragonBall miner. So mainly today we're going to be talking about Radiant, the price obviously going up, what my opinion is on it, and overall it is kind of looking pretty bleak for Radiant in the long run at least. I know we have miners coming out and there's probably going to be a bit main chip. Also, one thing I want to touch on is that Ice River probably already had this chip ready to go. They just didn't feel like it was going to be profitable enough for them to start selling miners, so they didn't release it, because they released it basically 2 days after. And my theory is that they already had it there and were just doing some R&D on it, and then they realized it wasn't profitable, so they just kind of took it away once the entity jumped on. And now they're coming back and actually going to sell these, and they're probably going to sell out way quicker than the DragonBall miners. So when we look at Radiant, this is when the hash rate actually came onto the network. It was around April time, and we have around, 80 to 90 terahash here, goes all the way up to around 200, then goes between 200 and 190 terahash, and then there's this massive drop off. I think that's because all the ASICs were getting taken off the network, maybe to be sold, and then it climbs back up here. So the main thing that we're going to point out today is how much the price has been manipulated on terms of Radiant, because the entity obviously mined a lot of Radiant. From what we believe and what we've seen on the wallets, they said they hadn't sold any, but it looks like they have sold a lot of it. So we have a calculation here which is going to show us how many roughly coins they've actually mined of Radiant so far. So firstly, we have right here, so 86,400 is how many seconds are in a day. Let me just bring this up. And then we divide that by 300 because the block time is 300 seconds. That gives you 288 blocks per day. Now, we're going to say that the entity had at least over half the hash rate on the network. I know they might have had more, but then we divide that number by 2, so they were getting 144 blocks per day, and then we times it by the amount of days that the entity has been mining on the network, which is around 30 days times 6 months, so we're going to go with 180 to give us 25,920, and then we times that by the block reward, which is 25,000 if we can see there. And then we scroll down on the Radiant price and we input that into a converter, which gives us around 1 million USD. So when we're looking at the market cap, right, what we're seeing here, it's around 1/18 of the market cap overall. And at the time before they started actually pumping the price up, which is what I believe they did, if we look here, the market cap was only around 7 million. So I don't know how that equates in terms of 1/7 of the market cap. Basically it's still going to be around the same range, so they have around 1/18 or 1/7 of the market cap based on like what we're seeing in terms of the price. So if we go here, we can look at the last month. Price was actually relatively bad, and then as soon as the ASICs release right here, this is where I believe that the entity probably started buying up all of the Radiant back, the ones that they sold off, and that basically put the price up. And mainly the reason was to make these ASIC miners appear more profitable. Now there could also be some external factors like other people buying into Radiant, which, could contribute a lot, but this price action doesn't really necessarily track with how much hash rate is hitting the network and from who it's coming from, because it's mainly all coming from the entity right now still. Obviously people will be getting these miners because they took them off the network to start selling them, but right now they're currently still on the network, it appears to be. And this is the only time we've kind of seen an ASIC company stay on a network for such a long time. When we go over to Viper Pool, we can see basically the same address getting all of the blocks right here. And then we go down here, we can see all the worker names. So we thought this was FPGAs, like 70 times 31, but I think it's just an indexing thing where this is how they're labeling all of their miners. And as you can see, they're hitting around 3.2 terahash, which is what we see the hash rate for these A11s from Dragon Ball. So currently right now, all of these miners are still mining around $132 per day. And you can see they've got loads of pages worth of all of these miners. So clearly they're still mining on the network right now. Now another thing that we are looking at is where this is actually going into, because we believe that they were selling it off. However, if they have around $1 million USD and they sold off all the Radiant, that means that they probably have around a substantial amount of money to pump back into Radiant. And as you can see, the volume goes up quite a lot here, which is why I believe they started to manipulate the price. And then if we go on 7 days, you can kind of see where people took their profitability out. So when it reached up to here, people kind of used that as exit liquidity. And I think a lot of the people that were holding Radiant before were using this price pump as exit liquidity. And we're seeing the same here, massive dip down right there. So in my opinion, it's definitely not the best to go and buy one of these because they're going to become very unprofitable very quickly. The entity is still going to mine on the network, I believe. And when we look at the pool here, you can see, wait, let's go back here. You can see that they're still donating to the fund for, if we go on settings here, they're donating a certain percentage to the RXD donation right there. So I believe that that was agreed by the entity and the Radiant team. But that's the main thing. I just wanted to give my opinion. I believe that they definitely are manipulating the price, and I wouldn't buy any of these miners right now. The hash rate is still going to hit a lot of the network, and also the entity is probably going to still be mining on the network, and they're going to come out with more efficient miners probably that are going to do way better on the network. And then Ice River, maybe you would spend $400 on it because it is just a gamble. Realistically, payback time is 1.2 months. You might be able to ROI before it becomes relatively unprofitable on the network. And then lastly, it also leaves the question of where the hash rate came from on the K-heavy hash variants, just because we have seen it on Radiant, Alephium, and Kyler coin. But for the K-heavy hash variants, there seems to be a different entity unless it is Dragon Ball and they're messing about with FPGAs or something like that. There is potential to be two entities, like one is Dragon Ball and then one's an actual external FPGA farm that is going onto these networks and trying to use the bit streams on the K-heavy hash algorithms. So let me know your thoughts in the comments if you'll be buying one of these. I recommend you don't buy it at this point, just because it's very manipulated, and I don't think that the price of Radiant is going to just continue to keep rising unless they come out with new miners, which means that they're going to buy up a bunch of coins just to make the price go back up, and then they're going to sell off as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content like this.